So recently, I've been recommended a lot of Doctor Who YouTube shorts, and I've consumed all of it. So this is my understanding of the TV show. Doctor Who is a British TV show that focuses on the escapades of Doctor who comes from an alien species known as the Time Lords. This alien species is most known for having two hearts, telepathy abilities, and being really good at chess since they apparently invented the game. The TV show started sometime during the 1900s and took a 50-year break before being restarted again in the 2010s. The first 8 or so Doctors are from before the restart, and I don't really know much about them since they were never really put in the YouTube shorts. There are some Doctors that I recognize though. There is the Buzzcut Doctor, Dr. David I, since his actor is named David and he shows up multiple times. There's the Tumblr Man Doctor, who is the most recognizable and has the most YouTube clips. There's also the War Doctor, who shows up in one movie, I believe. There's the Irish Doctor, who shows up quite a bit in YouTube shorts as well. I think he's the second most popular one. I know there's the Woman Doctor, since it was a big news at the time when she came out, but I haven't seen any YouTube shorts of her. There's Dr. David II, since he apparently got rebooted. So yeah, there's him. There's also the Split Doctor, who's of African descent, where Dr. David II gets shot by the Toy Master and he splits in two. So yeah, those are the Doctors I recognize. The reason why there are different actors for the Doctor is due to a plot device known as regeneration. When the Doctor needs to change, whether this is due to injury or they need a bullshit excuse to get rid of him, the Doctor regenerates. Basically, he just changes completely. He has a new personality and a new body. I don't really understand why this happens, but it's like a quirk of his race, I suppose. The Doctor is usually surrounded with a few companions. The ones that I recognize the most are Rory and his girlfriend, since they showed up in the Tumblr Doctor time period. There's River Song, a bald guy, Donna, Claire, or Laura, don't really know which one it is, and she shows up in Dr. David II's companion. There's also a couple of reoccurring bad guys. There's the Daleks, the mini tanks who can apparently just start flying, the Cybermen from another universe who are completely different from the original Cybermen, the Weeping Angels, the guys who have a weak spot on their back, the Toy Maker who shows up, I think, once, and the guy who made the Daleks. Okay, next on to the episodes of Doctor Who that I recognize for each one of the Doctors. For the first Restart Doctor, the episode I watched is one where he got captured by the Daleks, was told to do something, he agreed to the demand, and then another Dalek told him to do it. And then he just starts screaming at it, and it's just like, I'm the Doctor, or something like that. The next episode that I saw through a YouTube short, in chronological order, is probably the one in which Dr. David I first appears. He goes out of the TARDIS after regeneration, and he asks around, and it's just like, am I a redhead now? I always wanted to be a redhead. And yeah, that's really just it. The next episode is the one with River Song, in which case he's in outer space with a bunch of astronauts or whatever, and they're in the biggest library in the universe or something like that. River Song shows up and the Doctor doesn't recognize her. And since River Song is a time traveler going from the future into the past, this means that, she dies. Since, if the Doctor doesn't recognize her, like, something fucked up. In this episode, the main antagonists are a bunch of dust piranhas that can kill humans that are in the darkness, and they appear in this episode as the Shadows. The Doctor basically wanders around. I'm pretty sure most of the astronauts die, and he gets away at the end after saying something to the alien. We're in the biggest library in the universe. You should search me up under cause of death, or something like that. I believe there's also another episode, I've only seen this in one short, in which they meet the actor for the 13th Doctor in Rome. David, Doctor I, and his companion then pretend to be sisters or something in front of him. I don't really know what happens. On to the Doctor who I've seen the most clips of, the Tumblr Man. I call him Tumblr Man because I think he's from that era. So the first episode of the Tumblr Man is an episode in which a giant eye invades Earth, and he is tasked with protecting Earth from the giant eye, I believe. I've only seen the end of this episode in which he talks to the eye and is just like, search me up, find everyone I've defeated. And then the eye retreats. And then he's just like, I'm the Doctor, baby. The next episode, I don't know if this is chronological, but it's the Weeping Angels. This episode starts off with River Song finding the Doctor and basically, asking him for help. River Song then talks to a bunch of astronaut soldiers who are just like, we expected you to bring an army. And she's just like, you told me to bring someone with the power of an army. And that's the Doctor, because the Doctor is great and all-powerful. They're on this planet, I believe, and they're investigating. They're just like, okay, we see a bunch of dead aliens, but the doctor recognizes them as a species with 2 heads, but they're all missing 1 head, so they're kind of freaked out here. Then they run into the Weeping Angels, who are weakened. The doctor recognizes them, and it's just like, oh shit, I fucked up. You have to look at the statues. If you don't look at them, they'll come and attack us and kill us. And another tidbit about the Weeping Angel is that if you have 2 of them looking at each other, they're basically just fucked. And also the Weeping Angels send people back in time normally, unless they're really weakened, in which case they killed them. Shenanigans ensue, a bunch of soldiers die. One of them contacts the doctor, and the doctor's like, how did you escape? And the soldier's like, I didn't, sir. And it's just like, oh, this Weeping Angel is basically using the soldiers' vocal cords to communicate to the doctor. I'm pretty sure all of the soldiers die off, except for River Song and the doctor, and they escape onto a spaceship with their Weeping Angels on board. And the Weeping Angels say something about, in order to save the companions and the Weeping Angels, the doctor has to sacrifice himself. And then River Song is like, no, any Time Lord can sacrifice themselves in this situation by throwing themselves into a black hole or something. And then the doctor's like, just hold on. I mean it literally. And then like they all grab onto the ship, and then basically, they flip the ship 90 degrees. So the ship has gravity pulling on everything inside of it, and the Weeping Angels basically fall and die. Another episode I recognize is the introduction to Rory, in which case the doctor shows out of a cake instead of a stripper at Rory's birthday. He is obviously surprised, and then the doctor basically tells him, your girlfriend kissed me, and she's a good kisser. And Rory just looks at the doctor and is just like, what? Then there's another YouTube short in which the doctor shows up in World War II, breaks into a room, and kills the people who were going to kill Hitler. So yeah, the doctor saved Hitler. Rory has his wedding night with his girlfriend, I guess wife now, in the TARDIS. But the kid that's produced from that turns out to be a Time Lord because it was born in the TARDIS and had fucked up time bullshit. Anyways, this kid turns out to be River Song later. There's also the Cybermen episode where it turns out they're made out of wood. He points the screwdriver at the Cybermen, and he's in the truth field this whole time. So he's just like, I use my screwdriver to make your systems shoot backwards or something like that. So the Cyberman points its gun at itself and kills itself. There's also an episode in which he meets a Dalek who thinks they're a human, but they aren't. And I think they die later, sacrificing themselves. But then, this is just like, oh, okay, they're going to become a companion in the future. And I'm pretty sure this is one of his last companions as the Tumblr doctor. In the last episode, he has the girl as a companion, and he's just like, I will always remember you and myself. And then he turns Irish. And, that's the next doctor. Before we go to the Irish doctor, let's go to the War Doctor, since it's just a movie. So basically in this movie, David the First, Tumblr Man Doctor, and the War Doctor, which is an old guy, they all meet up. But the thing is, the War Doctor is also the youngest one, and the others have PTSD from, committing genocide. So basically, the Doctor is a war criminal who's murdered millions of people, probably billions, honestly. So Gallifrey is the home of the Doctor and his alien race. They're being attacked. They're getting attacked by the Daleks. They have a war. The Daleks are surrounding the planet. They're all shooting on it, and the planet's getting screwed over. They're all about to die. The only way out is to basically get rid of the planet. You get rid of the planet, the Daleks all shoot each other, and they basically, friendly fire themselves to death. So the War Doctor is basically predestined to kill his planet. He gets rid of it, the Daleks kill themselves, genocide. And at the start of this episode, or movie, I suppose, David the Doctor seduces Queen Elizabeth, but it turns out there's 2 Queen Elizabeths. One is an alien in disguise, who's poisonous, has a ton of tongues, and are good kissers or something. And the actual Queen Elizabeth. So he raises up both of them and kisses both of them. Tumblr Doctor is watching this after a while and is basically like, you really kissed that alien, huh? The War Doctor then shows up, thinks they're companions of the future Doctor, but then, turns out they're actually the Doctor. And then the main conflict happens where the Doctor is just like, okay, I gotta kill the planet now. I gotta live with my crime. I know what I have to do. But then the doctors think together and just wait a second, we don't actually have to do it. We can just make it seem like this happened and not actually do genocide. So all the doctors show up together. They have a moment. You get cuts of the previous doctors from before the 2000s who show up as well. And they do a magical thing, in which case Gallifrey is stuck into a painting and saved. The Daleks kill themselves. The 13th Doctor is also teased during the cameos. So now on to the 13th Doctor. One of the episodes is he saves the guy who makes the Daleks, and this is the reason why Daleks can say the word mercy. He goes blind for a while, interacts with Egyptian aliens, And he also goes to Gallifrey. During this episode, the soldiers basically gas him up. They're just like, the first thing you'll notice about the Doctor is that he's unarmed. And the second thing is, well, there is no second thing because you're fucking dead. The ruler of Gallifrey at the time didn't want him there, but all the troops were basically like, we ain't fighting the Doctor. He's too scary. He's too spooky. He's too strong. And, they just kick out the ruler instead. There's another episode in which he's on like an alien train area, and there's like a scripture on the wall, and he's surrounded with a lot of doctors, soldiers, basically the smart men. You got the intellectuals with him. And they're just like, okay, we're all in this room. What do we have to do? And it's just like, find out what this thing does, what this monster is. Because the scripture, it spawns a mummy. It chases a random person in the room and basically kills them after a minute. So a bunch of random people die. I believe the soldier dies. One of the smart men dies. I don't really remember what they did. The Doctor is making like comments during this time, which is like, quickly tell us all the details you can see so the next person has a chance to survive. Obviously, the first person who does it is a bit upset because they're just like, wait a sec, you can't save me? The fuck am I going to do? So a couple people die. The Doctor gets caught next. So basically, he starts talking to the mummy. He's just like, wait a second, this guy's got like military tech. He's very old. Oh, I get it. He's a soldier. And he says, I surrender at the last second, which, ends the curse, or I guess in this case, the soldier's war. There's also a miniature TARDIS episode, in which case the TARDIS starts drinking. His companion is outside, basically has to pretend to be the Doctor. And the TARDIS is eventually thrown on a railroad track, and the companion is basically like, Doctor, you should use the Atom Family trick since the TARDIS didn't have enough energy to do teleportation or anything. So he uses his hand, sticks it out the machine. It's a hand. It's regular hand size, while the TARDIS is like a size of a tissue box. And he moves the TARDIS around into safety. And then after he does this, he does a little Addams Family dance, I believe. I don't really even know if it's an Addams Family dance, but that's what the YouTube comments said, so I guess it is. Afterwards, there's the episode with Robin Hood, in which basically it's Robin Hood, but instead of the bad of Robin Hood being like the mayor or whatever he's called, the mayor is still the big bad, but everyone in the Robin Hood lore is a robot. Like all the soldiers are robots, and the mayor is actually holding a bomb or something. He thinks it's a spaceship that will give him like the kingdom, but it's just a bomb. The airship goes up, they go into orbit, and then it explodes. And that's the end of the episode. There's also River Song's emotional crash out episode, in which case it turns out she married a head that is connected to a giant robot. But she did this in order to get a jewel. They go to like an auction or something. She has an emotional crash out where she's like, the Doctor will never come for me. I love the Doctor, but the Doctor is a sunset. Beautiful, but the sunset doesn't love you back. And she also doesn't recognize the Doctor at this point, because I don't really know. So the Doctor finally reveals himself, tells River Song, hey, I'm actually the Doctor. And they have a heartwarming moment as it shows that the Doctor actually does care about her. River Song then reveals that the auction site is going to collapse, and she knows this because she's an archaeologist. Right before the place collapsed, she tells the auctioneer that she's a time-traveling archaeologist and that she dug this place up. I'm assuming everyone then dies except for the Doctor and River Song. There's also this episode where it turns out the moon is an egg and it hatches, and I believe like two humans basically got to decide whether or not to kill it or to let it live. I think they let it live. And yeah, that's basically it for the Irish Doctor. I don't really know the exact order for the next Doctors, but the next Doctor, as far as I'm aware, is Dr. David II. He basically gets recast as the next Doctor. There's only a few episodes that I've seen him in. One is the Edge of the Universe episode, in which he and his companion, Donna, go to the edge of the universe, meet an alien race, and the alien race tries to replace them. The alien race has no concept of shape and size, so they're able to change sizes at will, and they try to corner the Doctor and Donna. Donna's the new companion, by the way. At the end of the episode, the Doctor is forced to make a decision between the two Donnas. One fake, one real. He takes the fake one, brings it into the TARDIS, realizes that her wrist or arm or something is 0.6 centimeters too big or too long, and then just throws her out of the TARDIS and brings back the real Donna. The main episode that I've seen of David Doctor II is the Toy Master episode. This is an episode in which the Toy Master shows up, which is a creature, alien, antagonist from before the restart. The Toy Maker is basically this godlike being that can make whatever he wants come true, and he loves playing games. In this episode, I think he has 3 distinctive personalities. The first one is a classy businessman, where he's outside in a chaotic world since he's made people think that they always are correct. So everyone in this world thinks they're correct all the time. They don't think that anyone else is correct. They only think they are correct. They meet again in a carnival section where the toy maker is juggling balls. Every single time he juggles one, he throws one at the doctor, but the total amount of balls being juggled does not change. The doctor is then challenged by the toy maker, chooses a game, plays against the toy maker, loses. The doctor then says, "We must now play best of 3, so the toy maker kills him. He does this since before the doctor beat him as a different incarnation, and now that he's lost, a different incarnation should play against the toy maker. The doctor then has a weird regeneration where another doctor appears out of him, so Donna pulls him and the doctor splits in 2. They then beat the toy maker since there's 2 doctors now, so they have double the power, literally. The split doctor then tells David Doctor II that he could enjoy the rest of his life and not worry about traveling through time and stuff. He hits the TARDIS, a second TARDIS appears. But yeah, that's it. Have a good one.